You may be asked to write argument, persuasion, and of course, letter or epistolary form. Now, there's some more key information. If you have any question, you may note it down, please. So looking at all those three different boards, these are the general types of creative writing questions. You are asked to describe an image. You're asked to write a story, that is narrative. You're asked to write a story based on an image or based on a scenario. You're asked to write something to persuade others. You're asked to write instructions for creation of something or for performance of a process. And epistolary, we talked about right now, you are asked to write a diary or journal entry. Here are some useful tips. You may want to note down the ones that you really find useful. And the first tip is a very common negligence or mistake also. Some of you do brainstorm and plan before writing. But I have personally met some of your friends who think that, okay, it's 7 to 8 sentences. I'm going to write 7 10 sentences. What is the need of 2 to 5 minutes planning for that? They simply think a little and start writing. Of course, you can think a little and start writing and still write 7 sentences. I agree with that. And some of you can write very beautiful 7 sentences. But whatever you are doing, if you are doing it with a plan, if you are dedicating uh, your time first to finding ideas, then to organizing ideas, and then finally writing those ideas, then I'm quite sure that anyone can write better than what they write without brainstorming and without planning. And the metaphor is that if the axe is dull, one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength. But what's the need of doing that? Sharpen it before you use it. There are stories of that, right? So this is your metaphorical brain that is stormed for ideas. A lot of ideas are generated, put on paper, organized, then planned into the answer. There are many popular ways of brainstorming. The easiest one, of course, will come first, and that is called free writing. As the name suggests, it is writing freely without any kind of inhibition. You focus upon a topic or focus upon the subparts of a topic, whatever your method is, and then write, and write for a couple of minutes. Set a time limit, of course, because you will not free write at rough space for 15 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. Free write as many ideas as can flow from your mind, let them come to the page. Then you decide which ideas or which phrases or words you're going to use in your actual writing. Remember, the key is to set the limit to which you will write, the time. Then, of course, there is bulleting technique. Bullet is when you make these kind of points. They're not full sentences. They're in the forms of phrases, clauses, or even words, but they are good ideas. So you put those ideas on paper. You don't free write. You think and bring the best ideas and put them on paper. Some of you, based on your personality and style and the type of question, some of you may like one method of brainstorming. Some of you may like another method of brainstorming. Some of you may like even combination. It's your choice, it's your style. But you must know these. Then there is the famous three perspectives methods, three ways of looking at things. You can describe it, you can trace it, you can map it. Again, not all questions will have this method applicable. You do know what a cube is? Cube has 6 faces in 3 dimensions. In the cubing method, of course, we are using those 6 faces. 1, describe it. 2, compare it. 3, associate it. 4, analyze it. 5, apply it. And 6, argue for and against it. Cubing method. The term cubing is very helpful and it gives you a lot of content. So of course, if you have to write only 6 to 7 sentences, you're not going for cubing method. If you have to write around 100, 200 words, then this method is helpful. As I have told you, all methods are not equally useful for all kind of questions. You be the judge. You will have to decide. This is a method that I personally find very useful for many kinds of questions. That is clustering or mapping or webbing, whatever you want to call it. Generally, it's called MyMap or somewhere Spiderweb, in which groups of ideas are interrelated with the help of lines or threads or web or whatever you want to call them. And then paragraphs are constructed or sentences are constructed based on that. We will actually have an example of this method later coming up based on an actual question. So you don't worry about it, because I find this method really very useful for students like you. Therefore, soon we'll have an example of this method. This is how you do it. You take a sheet of paper, you write your main topic at exactly center. Not many words. We'll use as few words as possible. We're not writing sentences. We are not writing paragraphs. We are maximum writing phrases. Then move away from the center and start bringing the most important ideas as branches, as subheadings that you will then relate with the central idea. Then you put in sub ideas. Branches will branch further. And finally, when you look at it, you'll have a large number of ideas that are interrelated logically, a kind of big spider web. We'll go to it. If there is any problem with the spider web metaphor, it will become very clear. Then there is one in which you take whole and part technique. So you take one big part, you break it into smaller parts, then you take smaller parts and you break them into even smaller parts. So large structure, smaller structure, then you take the small structure, even a smaller structure. This is when you analyze a lot. This is only useful when there are some special circumstances. Generally, the web or the free writing or even the bullet points will do. They are good. And brainstorming, I still strongly recommend, I cannot overemphasize, is very, very important just before the planning phase. The journalistic 6 questions is also a very good idea. There, as you can see, 1, who, 2, what, 3, when, 4, where, and 5, why. 5 W's and 1 H, how. 5 W's and 1 H, they will work not only for creative writing, but in many scenarios, you will see they will be useful for you. Okay. So what you can do is you can ask these questions about the topic words or topic phrases that you have seen from your creative writing question. And when you get the answers, you jot the answers down. Then you can organize the answers to who, what, when, where, why, and how into paragraphs or even sentences. Now, let me tell you, there's a trick. 3 is a number that somehow has got a lot to do with mnemonic techniques. What is mnemonic techniques? That is how we use psychology, the science of mind, to understand and remember things better. The rule of 3 is utilized by the writer, that is you. So, as I have talked about, your writing must have 3 parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end. Rule of 3. Then, in a sentence, you could bring in 3 phrases, 3 clauses, and yoke them together. One sentence, 3 different ideas brought together. One paragraph, 3 different points made. It's a trick, and it has worked for many centuries for many great prose writers. So I'm not giving you the names of all those writers. I have just extracted this and I'm giving the method to you. Follow the rule of 3. Whenever you want to emphasize a number of things, break them into subunits of 3, make sentences or paragraphs with them, and put them logically in order. Another tip is a mnemonic device, VAT Go. This is sensory perception, visual perception, auditory perception, tactile perception, gustatory perception, and olfactory perception. So when you are, especially when you're writing descriptive type of answers in creative writing, when you are describing an image, when you are describing an animal, a person, whatever, then you need to go real. Then you need to focus upon concrete senses, what you can see, what you can touch, what you can hear, what you can taste, what you can feel. And this is shortened as VAT. So these are the sensory images that you utilize to write specially descriptive type questions. VATGO, as you can see, there are things. Um, Sayed is emphasizing points for us. Thank you so much, Sayed. But I think that we can do without it. So if you could refrain from that. Sight, what you see, or if you're in a story, what your character sees, how things look, where is the scene, where is the thing happening, right? And for sight, you need vivid verbs and you need precise adjectives. Then you've got sound. So many of you know about onomatopoeia. So about these sound images, onomatopoeia is very, very useful. Even if you're not planning it, there is some basic element of our language, English language, that whenever you describe sound, onomatopoeia naturally comes. So if it naturally comes in, you can consciously try and make it better. I'm giving the tips, you could note them down because, this is coming from my experience with students like you, and you can actually utilize it. Then, of course, the three lesser used senses: smell, touch, and taste. But if you could focus upon them and emphasize on them, then your writing will be different from what others are doing. People generally stop at sight. As far as sensory images are concerned, in description, people generally write only about what can be seen. So if you, because I have told you, if you could focus upon all the senses, especially on these three that are not so much emphasized, your writing will be very much different and your images will be very much different from what others are doing, which is a good point. Then there is another mnemonic device for remembering the main literary devices, that's SPAMO. Simile, sonification, alliteration, metaphor, and onomatopoeia. I've already mentioned onomatopoeia. That's very useful for which one? Who is going to tell me this? Oh, yeah. Chat. Onomatopoeia, which sensory perception? Can someone please put it in the chat? Type, please. Type. Because we'll not stop for it. Hearing, sound, amazing, right, absolutely, good. Exclamation, yes, but sound is the exact thing. Thank you so much. Now, let me tell you one more thing. As I told you about onomatopoeia, when you are describing sound, it naturally comes in. Similarly, whenever you are using creative language, then alliteration and metaphor or simile. Alliteration in sound and metaphor and simile in comparisons, they naturally come in, especially when you are describing something. I repeat, literary devices are not artificial devices. They naturally are there. I'm just asking you to focus upon them so that they don't come accidentally. They are there in a planned manner. So simile and metaphor and comparisons, whenever you use creative writing, they naturally come there. And alliteration is so common in English language that as a fun exercise, you could do it after this session. Take any random page of your textbook, English, even science textbook, and check. You will see repetition of consonants. That's how we speak. That's how we speak English. And of course, an extended kind of metaphor is personification. I repeat, personification is a special use of metaphor in which there is a comparison made between something that is not human and elements that are human. They are fused together, which also is very useful for some situations. So the famous show don't tell technique, everyone knows about that, right? I will not go into depth for that. Then you have VATGO that we talked about. We have also talked about figurative language, that is SPAMO. We have talked about SPAC in the very beginning and what the boards want. So this is a sum of what generally is required of your writing. Take a snapshot. This is going to help you. This cannot be overemphasized. I repeat, this cannot be overemphasized. Each point means marks. So utilize it, please. Especially, pardon, is someone trying to talk to me? No? Okay, we will talk towards the end. That is so. I'm pushing it. And whatever you do, even your best of the writing will not fetch you marks until, of course, your finished product is proofread, 100% correct. I repeat, 5 or 10% error is for others. If I am talking to you, then I'm asking you to be 100% correct. There shall not be even one error in your final piece of writing. Give 1 minute, give 2 minutes for proofreading. But finally, what you submit must be 100% correct. No spelling errors, no punctuation errors, no grammatical mistakes. That's not happening. You start now, build the foundation, and you go to the further levels, GCSE, A level. You will not make a single mistake in writing. It happens. There are persons who do not commit mistakes. Be one of them. So please pay special attention to SPAG, proofreading. It's very, very, very important. We have talked about all these things. I will not go deep into this, but the last point, which is important. I've seen some of you, you have very wonderful ideas, but you don't pay attention to the presentation. Either you write in a very bad handwriting, or you make it look dirty. So although I may sound very elementary, let me tell you, but that it's very important that your page is neat and clean and totally correct. And your handwriting is legible, at least, if not amazing, at least legible. Having said that, let me say, if your handwriting is good, that's an advantage. This one is for parents because you don't become good in creative writing in one day. So, of course, it's a long habituation process. So, get habituated to the kind of questions asked through practice papers. Also, it is creative writing. So, vocabulary, thinking techniques, how you can bring in the literary devices together, how you can bring it in different kinds of sentences and all. You could learn that from the other masters, that is, other great writers of prose. And for that, you need to read extensively. And for that, parents can encourage you, schools can encourage you, and of course, teachers can encourage you, right? Expanding the vocabulary, again, is not something that you can do at your will in 1 or 2 months. That's a really long process. Start year 4, year 5, wherever you are, start at that year, and you will see that. And I'm not focusing only upon 11 plus, I'm focusing upon your future. And if you make vocabulary expansion, active vocabulary expansion, a part of your life, you will see the impact on your thought processes because you don't learn words, you learn thoughts, you learn ideas. And of course, the whole thing can be made very interesting if you can have games for that. So there are many effective strategies and very wonderful books in the market. You could go and use them. One thing that I will tell you here is the etymological method. It's a very wonderful method. It always works and makes vocabulary learning into a story kind of situation. After all this, now the only thing left for you is dry run. When in timed situation, you write answer to actual exam style question. Time is important because if you are given 2 hours to write a question's answer, which should be written in 20 minutes, then of course you will produce wonderful output. But the idea is to write under pressure and complete in the given time. So timed writing task is very important. Actual exam like conditions are very important, and of course you do have exam like questions. So of course you're using the exam like questions, so I will not overemphasize that you're doing that already. One basic mistake that students generally make, and I've seen that happening again and again, even at higher levels, is they don't read the whole question. They don't underline the key points in the question. Therefore, they don't answer the whole question. I repeat, they become very glad on reading a question that is easy according to them. They're very glad that, oh, yes, I can do this very easily. Let's do it. And they jump onto maybe a little bit of brainstorming planning and they start writing it. But if you forget even one point in the question and you did not include that point in the answer, of course, you will not be awarded marks for that point. For example, if the question is describe your best friend and mention their qualities, and if you're just physically describing your best friends, but then not mentioning their qualities, or if you're mentioning in one quality, it's in plural, qualities, marks will not be awarded fully to you. And that's very natural. Now, as I told you, we'll take a question and we'll walk you through the brainstorming technique. So here is an example question. Explain in your own words how you would clean your room, give clear instructions, and include as much detail as possible. Make it 7 to 8 sentences. This is that kind of question, very common kind of question, instruction-based question, not much imagination, but stick to reality. Brainstorm around 3 minutes, plan around 2 minutes. When you brainstorm, I told you that I'll talk about the spider web. And this is not prescribed. This is one of many possible results of brainstorm. So as I told you, the main idea in 2 or 3 words at center, then you go towards the margins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sub ideas towards the margins. And here the box technique is very well used. Under those sub ideas, smaller ideas. You may remember the whole and the part and the sub part technique. Now, this is a combination of that web or mind map technique and the part and sub part technique. And as you can see, you have so many ideas that if you want, you could make 7, 8, 9 complex sentences. But as I've told you, you're not going to do that. Therefore, you'll have to drop some of these ideas and then you'll have to organize some of these ideas into complex sentences. You have to begin with an introductory sentence. You have to close with a closing sentence. And again, what I'm showing you is not the only possible answer. It's one of many possible answers, but it addresses the key points raised. Of course, you're not going to color your beginning and end like I have. The colored part is just to show you that it focuses on the key points. Clean my room effectively, and thus I will keep my room tidy and inviting. In the beginning, you declared what you're going to do. At the end, you declared what you have just now done. And all of this is coming from this thing. So as I told you, if you brainstorm well and plan well, then you will naturally write. Okay. I know you may have many questions. I have one more such question to share with you. I will not describe or explain. I'll just run you through it. And then we'll go towards the question answer session. Aim to write 6 or 7 sentences. Explain what is your favorite part of the year and why. Again, you'll brainstorm, You will write the main idea at the center. You will write the sub ideas, then, and you will write sub ideas after that. And you see you have so many ideas that you can make as many sentences or as many kind of sentences as you want. Once more, this is not what I'm prescribing. This is one of many possible results of brainstorming. But if it is visual, then it is very clear. You could go for bullet point method. You could go for free writing method. Personally, I find mind mapping and spiderweb the best methods. And within mind mapping and spiderweb, the whole part and subpart technique is very good. And then you create something like this. Remember, stay towards the upper limit of the sentences. Here's the question answer session for you. So I think I'll go to the chat box and see if there are some questions. None. No, so you're welcome to ask your questions. Parents, they want. Students, if you want, whichever kind of query you may have, doubt or question, you're welcome. Laliji, if you want to add anything, or Sanjay if you want to add anything.
First of all, thank you to you, William, sir, for your wonderful presentation, I would say. And there's no gap about it. It is seriously very, very good and very informative, I would say. And thank you,
Thank you.
parents, for joining in and being there for us. And I believe if you might have already enjoyed the session. But if you have any questions, even after this presentation, you know where we are, our portal, you know our contact details. And you can email us and you can message us, and we are more than happy to support you on your journey, right? So, and if you have any questions, we can right away answer as well, if you want to. Otherwise, definitely you know our coordinates and you know how to reach to us, right? Hopefully, you have enjoyed the entire show.
So we have a couple of questions in the chat
No,
box.
we have
So
questions actually,
yes.
right?
So
So
allow me to take
Rajneesh,
them.
I think I
sorry,
missed that
go
part.
on.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's begin with vocabulary. There's a question
Yeah, I can
about
hear
the
now.
best way to improve your vocabulary. Well, the best way is the most interesting way also, because vocabulary is not a dry, dead thing. It's a living thing. And vocabulary is not just words, they are ideas. If I sound theoretical, uh, well, that's how I learned. So I'm telling you how I learned it. There may be other methods, very boring methods. Learn long word lists, so many words and their meanings, and that's a lot of pain. But if somebody is learning new words, while somebody is opening up their minds to new fields of ideas. Let me give you one example. For example, if someone is basically more interested in science and math, and then that person decides one day that let's learn vocabulary from geography, for example. So when they get interested even a little bit in geography and they start, say, studying meteorology, and then they go into meteorology, they learn about anemometer. Now, these are the words that are dry and dead and very boring for someone who is not interested in geography. But once they are interested in that specific field, and as you know, fields are unlimited, therefore, vocabulary is also unlimited, where parents can help their children to focus upon fields that can help them writing good answers in 11 plus. So instead of going to abstruse fields, they could go for good literature, for creative writing kind of literature, novels and stories written for children, poems written for children. So once they're interested in reading, and of course they need to remain conscious towards expanding their active vocabulary, then they will have fun while they learn these new words. And let me emphasize one more point here. Just learning new words is not important. One may know 100 words, but not use them. The idea is even if you're learning lesser number of words, they must give you pleasure and you must intend to use them in your speech and in your writing, which is called active vocabulary. So I repeat, enjoy the process of reading and consciously try to use the interesting words that you have seen. Just today, I was talking to a student. He wrongly used the word eminent. And I asked him, why did you use it? And he said, I like the way it sounds. He liked the way it sounded. I said, that is a good beginning. You have liked a word because of its sound. And he knew the meaning, only he did not know how to use it in a sentence. So I told him that, keep liking words, make friends with them. Using them may come later, but making friends is very important. So it should be interesting, it should be fun, it should not be boring. Simply flashcard and books and all these kind of things. If a student is not interested and is finding it difficult, then it will become very mechanical. So let's enjoy the process. Enjoying is very important. That's why I said vocabulary is not built in a couple of months. It takes years or at least 1 year. So what we are going to do now is going to help us in GCSE and A level. What one does starting from 3 or 4 year, that helps them in 5 or 11 plus. Of course, there are some capsule like things which in books is available, and there are book lists also that are available with Sahyog. So if somebody quickly wants to learn useful vocabulary, you could go for the books, but the long-term thing is enjoy it. Then there is SPAC. Yeah, that's also a related kind of thing. Once I know how to use the language, I will not make mistakes, although I may not know much of grammar. That's how mother tongues is acquired. A person who naturally uses a language, who has learned that language from their childhood, they don't need to read books of grammar and rules to know that this is the right way of using that sentence. So if a person has listened to a large number of sentences, what we call corpus sentences, and if a person has read a large number of sentences, not for 11 plus, not for examination, but because they use it. So the idea is to expose the child to a large amount of listening material and to a large amount of reading material. And all of it must happen in a very interesting manner. I repeat, interesting, interesting, interesting again and again, because one may force a child to sit and listen to a lot of content, but one may not force their brain to imbibe all of it, to enjoy it, and then to remember it. That can only happen when they are interested. That can only happen when they are shown, they are listening to, and they are reading something that they like. So for parents, the only thing that I'll say is find out the ways for them to reach the target text or the target of whatever film or whatever you want, that is rich and diverse in vocabulary, sentence structure, and then let them imbibe it. Also, ask them to keep a notebook. If they have problems in vocabulary, then vocabulary notebook. If they have problems in sentence structures or spellings or punctuation, then those structures, and in coordination with standard spelling or punctuation books or standard vocabulary books, you could use it. But the idea is, I repeat, students must enjoy this. This is all from me. Thank you. Over to you, Sanjay.
Yeah, thank you, Will sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention that we have a creative writing course starting 10th April next week, Wednesday. It's a 4 days program. If you really want to deep dive and want to learn all types of creative writings and want to practice with us, we're going to provide you entire notes and presentations so that you can be better prepared before you go to the class. There will be classes every day, 2.5 hours long, with the breaks, of course. And whatever we teach, we're going to test the same day. And the inputs would be provided same day after marking the your creative writing. So 4 days program covering all sort of creative writings for CSSE, FSC, HBS, and other private exams. It's a very good program, gonna help you not only 11 plus, but beyond. Registrations open. If you are interested, you can register on sayog.co.uk.
Yes, and just to add same thing here that there are we have shown you few tricks and tips right today, but there are a whole complete course which can take you to the next level, right? If you do it properly and in a structured way, you would definitely lead to the final destination. And it's as subject matter expert Williams has said and Sanjay ji said that this is something not a destination. It's about the journey, how you're going to enjoy the journey, how you're going to increase your imagination power and creativity in your writing, not only writing, in your thoughts, in fact, right? This whole is about that. And there are many courses, and specifically the course which is just going to start, and Sanjay has just mentioned. And you have all the details in our website, and you can refer there for more details. Yeah.
Yeah, our mock tests are already kicked off. So every weekend we have mock tests, CSSC, FSC, and GL types, Redbridge, Kent, QE, HPS. We're covering all sort of papers, which will give you good experience in terms of not only maths, NVR and VR, but creative writing as well, including comprehension. So feel free to book, and there are courses available, including classes as well as doubt clearing sessions, which is very important when you go for a mock test and you don't understand a set of questions in English or maths or creative writing tips and tricks, right? You will be joining with the experts and they're going to walk you through the entire paper, in which you will have chance to speak up and ask questions if you have any doubts. So all sort of courses are available, and additional help if you need. Parents need any suggestions, consultation, advice, feel free to call us or email us at academy@sahyog.co.uk. You have got our number on our website as well. If you can ask question now, we are towards the end of the session. We will try to answer now. Otherwise, you can, of course, write us at academy@sahyog.co.uk. So any parent have got any question? Any student have got any question? Okay, great. No worries. I will type our email ID so that you know where we are, and feel free to write us if you have any follow-up questions after this. We keep running these webinars, and we'll try to run more and more webinars to help students and parents. Last one was for parents, how they can work with children closely. If you have missed, we're going to plan one soon. Very, very important for parents to work with the kids, not only for study, but also on their positive confidence building things as well, right? And comprehension or NVR, if you like to have a webinar on any specific topic, feel free to email us and we'll try to adjust in our calendar, right? That's pretty much from us today. Thank you all for joining. It was really nice to have you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you all.